Today, I just had to bring a friend to help me go through this with. So I brought in Nick Lewis to help me share with you the 5 paint colors we are over. There's no such thing as a bad color. It's impossible to definitively say that a specific color is unusable because it's normally one piece of a much larger design puzzle that you're putting together. But Nick and myself are human beings with our own unique experiences and opinions, and after doing many color consultations over the years and working with paint for quite literally half my life now, there have been several colors that I find myself recommending less and less. I just don't know what it is, but I just can't with some of these colors. Actually, I pretty much know exactly why I don't use these anymore, and let me tell you why. The first one I want to talk about is a pretty popular color, all things considered, and it has been for quite a while. This color is Silver Half Dollar by Benjamin Moore. Honestly, it's a beautiful mid-tone cool gray that dominated a lot of color palettes in the 2010s, and that's because we started to see a gradual transition from warm to cool color schemes. People were trading in their antiques for aluminum, and natural oak floors switched to monochromatic laminates. And let's not forget about the abundance of kitchens that seemingly all became white overnight, complete with some of that same cool gray in the marbling. The look itself is fine, it's just something I saw very often every time I would come in for an appointment or do an estimate for the painting company I work alongside, and it's just not a color palette that I ever really get excited about anymore. I felt like there were too many people just going cool, and more cool, without having that important sense of balance in your color scheme. And Silver Half Dollar can be pretty temperamental in certain lighting conditions. It rarely looks silver or even gray. It almost always has either a blue or even a purple look to it that just doesn't project a strong sense of coziness, which is something that I always look for. I honestly think that you're almost always better off with something like Stonington Gray, which is more subtle with its cool aspect, and to me it's even more of a silver than Silver Half Dollar. Alright Nick, give us your first over it color pick.
Thanks, James, for including me in this video. Okay, so there aren't really any colors that are bad necessarily. I mean, some are really difficult to pull off, especially like really big, bold, saturated colors can be really difficult to work with in interior design. But I'm gonna pick 2 colors today that I think are just either overused or they are part of a particular color scheme or design style that is used so frequently that it just sort of really makes me feel like I'm a little bit over that color in particular. So the first one I wanna talk about is Chantilly lace. Now I know this is sacrilegious to talk about Chantilly lace in this way because so many people, so many designers list it as their first choice for whites. And I get it because I did a video on my favorite white paint colors and Chantilly lace made the list. Now here's the thing, the reason why I'm a little bit over it. The thing is that Chantilly lace is a beautiful white paint, okay? It's on Benjamin Moore's lineup, it's the most reflective white, it's the brightest white, it's a really clean look. But it's not always the right choice because Chantilly lace sometimes, especially in a really big, bright room, can look like primer. It can just really reflect too much light in the space and it lacks sort of the depth that I'm really looking for sometimes in a white paint. So my personal favorite white paint is actually Simply White because it has the brightness that you get from Chantilly lace, but it's a little bit warmer. It's just got a touch of warmth, a touch more character. I think Chantilly lace sometimes can look like primer, kind of look like you haven't really painted your walls yet. And I'm a little bit over that look. So yes, it's a beautiful white paint, but it's definitely overdone and not always the right choice.
I could not agree with you more, Nick. For some reason, Chantilly lace sometimes makes my blood boil a wee bit. But mainly because it's so brutal to paint with. You're lucky if you get away with 3 coats of it, more like 4 or 5. My next color is another white that I used to recommend all the time, mainly when it was available as a pre-mixed paint color, and that's Ultra White. Now for this one, it wasn't so much the coverage that irked me, but it was the bluish tinge that threw off a few color palettes I used it with. And in one respect, its cool aspect about it made it pop a bit more when paired with anything that was maybe warmer around it, but it's just a color that promises to be the ultimate choice for white paint, but really failed to deliver for me. It's not as ultra as it seems. My clear alternative to it would be Super White, which is another great clean white that manages to keep its undertones in check without feeling sterile. It's still my first choice for baseboards, at least as a starting point, and it's the fundamental reason I have stopped using or recommending Ultra White altogether.
The second paint color that I have chosen, also from Benjamin Moore's lineup, is called First Light. First Light, I believe, was 2019's Color of the Year from Benjamin Moore. Here's the thing. So it's this really pretty pink paint that is really light and fresh and feminine, and a lot of people are really looking for that. But I think so often this really pretty feminine pale pink that you see in colors like First Light is just a little bit overdone, and to me synonymous with sort of a really obvious glam in your face design style, which I particularly am kind of sick of seeing. So for this glam style, that's where we're talking about, you know, lots of marble, lots of pink, it's really feminine, brass accents, lots of gold, maybe a Tom Ford book on the coffee table, you know what I'm talking about. So you're seeing that style over and over and over again, and it's a style that I'm really tired of. It kind of describes every YouTuber's house that I've ever seen, or Instagram influencer, and I'm just kind of tired of that look. I'm really just tired of seeing this same pink First Light color, probably with Chantilly lace, over and over in every house tour that I see. And again, thanks for including me, James, in this collaboration. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Let's get into number 5. Have you heard of Revere Pewter? Are you familiar with Edgecombe Gray? Yeah, those ones. Well, did you know there's actually a third color on that same little color swatch you get at the paint store? Me neither. Lancaster Whitewash is HC 174, and the reason that I'm over it is because it fails to do what its neighboring colors do. Edgecombe Gray and Revere Pewter are absolutely some of the fundamental go-to warm neutral colors out there that have an immense amount of versatility and usability. Yes, they are some of the most overused and overhyped colors out there, but I stand behind them regardless. Lancaster Whitewash, on the other hand, I'm not too crazy about because it has a pretty high amount of yellow going on, which doesn't really fit the mold of all the other neutrals I'm using normally. It can be very susceptible to a green color cast that tends to feel a little dingy in comparison. If I wanted to go green, I'll just throw on Guilford green, and if I wanted something warmer, I'd much rather go with something like White Dove. This color to me just seems to have a bit of an identity crisis, and this is amplified because of where it is in the historic color palette. Sorry, Lancaster, you're not cool enough to hang out with Revere Pewter and Edgecombe Gray. I'm sorry. Okay, that's a bit harsh. Big thanks to Nick for participating today. Hopefully no paint colors feelings were hurt in the making of this video. We're just having a bit of fun here, and I hope you did too. Peace out.